meditation. Listen to these words on happiness. Happiness is an attitude of mind born of the simple determination to be happy under all outward circumstances. Happiness lies not in things, nor in outward attainments. It is the gold of our inner nature, buried beneath the mud of outward sense cravings. When you know that nothing outside you can affect you, no disappointment, no failure, no misunderstanding from others, then you will know that you have found true happiness. Resolve strongly to keep this flame burning ever in your heart. And now let's affirm together, first in a strong outward voice. I vow from today onwards.
I vow from today onwards
to be happy under every circumstance.
to be happy under every circumstance.
I came from God's joy.
I came from God's joy.
I am joy.
I am joy.
I vow from today onwards.
I vow from today onwards
to be happy under every circumstance.
to be happy under every circumstance.
I came from God's joy.
I came from God's joy.
I am joy.
I am joy.
And now in a regular speaking voice, I vow from today onwards
I vow from today onwards
to be happy under every circumstance.
to be happy under every circumstance.
I came from God's joy.
I came from God's joy.
I am joy.
I am joy.
And now taking it more inwardly into a whisper, but with deep focus at the point between the eyebrows. I vow from today onwards to be happy under every circumstance. I came from God's joy. I am joy. And now silently, with even deeper focus, I vow from today onwards to be happy under every circumstance. I came from God's joy. I am joy. I vow from today onwards to be happy under every circumstance. I came from God's joy. I am joy. And pray silently with me. O Lord of joy, fill me with boundless happiness, for I am thy child, made in thy blissful image. As thou art joy, so also in my inner self am I. Om. Peace. Amen. Good morning again. Welcome to our Sunday service. I'm not going to bother introducing myself because I know everybody, which is great. But welcome. This is Ariana. I'm Dharma Devi. Just because who knows who's online. This is week 3. Is God present even there where there is ignorance? And this is from Swami Kriyananda's book, Rays of the One Light. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahamsa Yogananda. The Gospel of St. John, chapter 1, makes a reference to the divine light that is obscure to the rational faculty, but that enlightens our higher nature. The light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Reason recoils from this statement with innumerable questions. What is this darkness? Is it conscious that it should comprehend anything? What sort of light would be capable of shining in darkness without transforming at least that part of the darkness in which it shines into light? Does this light shine only at night? And if so, why only then? The solution is that to divine sight, even daylight seems darkness. The sun itself, like the moon, which shines only by reflected light from the sun, is but a kind of reflection of the cosmic light, which, being immaterial, is invisible to the eyes, but which is the great source of all material reality. In Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda describes his youthful visit to Ram Gopal Muzumdar, the sleepless saint, who lived in the vision of that hidden light. Around midnight, Yogananda wrote, Ram Gopal fell into silence, and I lay down on my blankets. Closing my eyes, I saw flashes of lightning. The vast space within me was a chamber of molten light. I opened my eyes and observed the same dazzling radiance. The room became a part of the infinite vault, which I beheld with interior vision. Why don't you go to sleep? Sir, how can I sleep in the presence of lightning blazing whether my eyes are shut or open? You are blessed to have this experience. The spiritual radiations are not easily seen. The saint added a few words of affection. This is the light that shineth in darkness. It has been described variously in the great scriptures. In the Bhagavad Gita, the 11th chapter, the devotee Arjuna is given an experience of the infinite state and exclaims in awe, if there should rise suddenly within the skies sunburst of 1,000 suns, flooding earth with beams undeemed of, then might be that Holy One's majesty and radiance dreamed of. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om. Om.
So good morning to everyone also. It's a real highlight and privilege and joy to be with you on Sundays. I was reminded, because the reading is about light, of a joke that Master told. Cece, maybe you'll enjoy this. It's a very simple joke. Your teeth are like the stars. They come out at night. Hopefully Master wasn't telling that to an elderly person. But this is the way that the light comes out of us, is through joy, is through mirth. You recall in Autobiography of a Yogi, the very last line of that poem, I, a tiny bubble of laughter, have become the sea of mirth itself. And Master would say, remember that poem, and say that again and again. You can remember just that one line. I, a tiny bubble of laughter, have become the sea of mirth itself. And it's as if all of life is pulsating with this joy. I was driving on Sunset Boulevard yesterday, and here we are in beautiful Los Angeles. My parents are on the East Coast complaining about how cold it is, and I cannot gloat about how beautiful it is. We have our, of course, it doesn't come without its price of drought and whatnot, but the moment I had on Sunset was just driving, and just the light came down on some type of flowers. I wish I could tell you what kind of flowers they were. And all these colors and all this life and the wind blowing on the flowers. And it was as if the flowers were speaking too, that we're echoing God's joy, that we're echoing that light that's within you. That's why Master called his great book Whispers from Eternity. This is what God is eternally doing, whispering to us. And then the light that shines in the darkness doesn't comprehend it. Right? So it's the darkness of our ignorance. It's that state that Satan is driving us towards, that he wants us to be mired in. But when our soul yearning is very deep, and when we call to be awakened, when there's a semblance of a desire to get out of that darkness, then we begin to receive little gifts. Perhaps it's good books or a spiritual teacher, this and that, but when our desire is very deep, then we receive the greatest blessing is I believe it was Shankaracharya said, the greatest blessing in all the three worlds, that of a Satguru, of a true guru. And this, of course, was the experience for Swami Kriyananda and for all of us, that we made a soul call, and that soul call was answered. Remember what Babaji said in Autobiography of a Yogi, I feel from the west flood-like, flood-like. So we are part of that flood. We are part of that wave, that call to the masters that has come. And they have answered that call through this special dispensation of Kriya Yoga, of self-realization. And what greater joy can there be than to jump on the bus? Master told this story. Have you heard of the saint who ate fire? I'm not sure you heard this. Maybe you've heard this story, maybe you haven't. So this was Sananda, the saint who ate fire. And he had a disciple named Markat. And Master said Markat was like a doubting Thomas plus a Judas combined. And so Sananda was a wandering sadhu. So he had his group of disciples with him, and they would stay, as the custom for wandering sadhus, 3 days in one location. And then to not get attached, they would leave and then wander to their next spot. And so they came to this village, and this very nice couple hosted them for a wonderful repast. And at this time, there was actually veal and beef served. This was before in India that most people in the Hindu religion were vegetarian, although some were. And Sananda instructed his disciples to practice being vegetarian. And so Sananda, the guru, was there at the table and telling all his disciples, have the sprouts and the carrots and the this, that, and the other thing. And then Sananda just very graciously took from the host all of the veal and the beef, and he is eating all the meat right in front of his disciples, and eating and eating. And they're like, what's Master? He tells us to eat the vegetables. This is what's going on in the market. Here he is eating veal and beef, and he's, it was a great meal. And they just have these little, raw vegetables. If you're raw, I'm sorry. This is no offense. So they then have to go to another location, and they leave this beautiful dinner, and the next day they have to walk 50 miles to the next village. And Sananda is just full of vigor and vitality, and he's leading his disciples, and Markat's in the back, and they're starting to get tired, and he's saying, look at our master. He's, come on, everyone. He's like, look at, how filled with energy he is. He ate the veal and the beef. And here we are. We're on the vegetables. And of course, the master could tune into his disciples' thoughts. And when they stopped, Sananda said to Markat, he said, can you eat what I eat? And Markat said, yes, master, yes. He said, okay, well, then when we get to our next spot, you can eat what I eat. And Markat said, okay, wonderful, wonderful, master. So they got to the next village, and there was a fire, and Sananda, the guru, began to take hot coals from the fire and proceeded to eat the coals. Because he was a master, he could do that. and then he turned to Markat and said, now you said you can eat what I eat. Now don't go back on your word. Here, have the hot coals. And Markat understood and said, I'm sorry, master, please forgive me. I was a fool. I was ignorant. And the point of this story is, when we're in the darkness, we don't comprehend the light. We can't understand the light's ways. But as devotees, when we then embark on our path, and when we embrace our guru and our spiritual path to liberation, to honor that and offer our unconditional love and obedience, as what Master said to Swamiji in their first meeting right here in Los Angeles on Sunset Boulevard. We have all these pilgrimage spots around us. Will you give me, I give you my unconditional love. Will you give me yours? Yes, sir. Will you give me your unconditional obedience? And it's in that listening to our higher self that we can find our freedom. There's also another fun joke for Cece in relation to light. Let me remember. Oh, okay. There's two men, okay, and they're both married. So the one husband says to the other, "My wife's an angel," and the other man said, "Oh God, you're lucky. My wife's still living." It's such a you know, there's another good story too that Master used to tell of the lion. You remember the lion who thought he was the sheep? You heard that story. He was a cub that grew up and for whatever reason, you know, his mother had to run away from the little cub when he was a child. So the cub grew up with sheep, and the cub the little baby cub thought that he was a sheep, so he used to bat like a sheep, and he used to graze and eat grass like a sheep, and he grew up with all these sheep. And then one day, his mother came along and many years later, saw this lion, this now mature lion with these sheep, acting like a sheep, all timid and afraid. And the mother came to chase down, and all the sheep fled, and she took her baby who thought he was a sheep down to the pond and, you know, dunked his head in the water and showed him. He said, look at your reflection of yourself. You're not a sheep. You are a lion. And he realized that he was a lion. And that's what we all are, of course, as well. We are all these incredible lions of self-control. We have all these divine birthrights and gifts within us. So how can we reclaim that light? What is the way out so that we can get out of all of our ignorance, our hatred, our sorrow, our suffering? It's not in the darkness. Ram always does this song of Swamiji's beautifully. What's it called, Ram? Devil worship, right?
Oh, yeah.
Devil worship. You know, what we need is light. You can't drive out the darkness with a stick. You can try. It doesn't work. It doesn't work well at all. You need light, and you need to bring in communion with devotion to the light of God within you. And that happens in deep meditation. This is the Gordian knot. You remember the story of the Gordian knot? No one could untie the knot until Alexander came with his sword. And instead of trying to untie the knot, he cut the knot. The Gordian knot. So that is the sword of discrimination. This is the sword of pranayama, that we cut through the veil of ignorance, of delusion, so that we can then to see that light. Remember that story of Master when he said, we just read it a few weeks ago in the Rays, where he closed his eyes and said, what is behind this darkness of closed eyes? And he began to see a light. And he said, he first saw the Himalayan yogis, and then he saw this light, and it said, I am Ishwara, I am light. And it's reclaiming our oneness, our identity with that light. So what are some other practical ways that we can reclaim that light? Of course, meditation. We all have a meditative practice. The practice of Kriya Yoga, which I think many people here practice already, but if you don't practice, explore the practice of Kriya Yoga, or deepen your practice of Kriya. And it's not just in the practice of Kriya, it's also, right, that's, as Lahiri said, cooking the meal. You need to then eat the meal and enjoy that light and just sit in the silence of inner communion, of offering ourselves up. What else can we do? Well, in Los Angeles, we drive a lot. How about practicing some japa in your car? You know, you're no longer just driving a hunk of junk down the streets. You're a ball of light, and you're radiating blessings out. You can practice japa. You can listen to chants in your car, right? Listen to sports talk radio. It's not as nearly as inspiring. But I was, the other week I was just playing the mantras of Swamiji that we do, you know, the Gayatri mantra and the Mahamrinjai, and I had to drive, I don't know, a couple hours that day. And I listened to a couple hours worth of mantras, and it made just such a difference just in my way of being, that vibration, taking it in. We can also serve. You know, being of service to people is it's so beautiful, it's so rewarding, because you step outside of yourself. You know, Master said something that he did every day is always look for a way that he can serve and help someone else. Even if it's something simple, a person you're working with, an email that you're writing, anything. Just any way that we can serve and offer ourselves, expand our reality to include other people. And one other way is to laugh. You know, don't take yourself too seriously. Remember this drama, I, a tiny bubble of laughter, have become the sea of mirth itself. We get caught in our little, 5'7" or 6'3" tall drama. You know, we get locked into our own body and personality. It is really serious, and all this stuff is going on to us. And remember we love to go to the movies in Los Angeles, right? So, as Paul was saying last week, you know, you who love to experiment, why don't you experiment with yourself, Master would say. Why don't you go to the Cosmic Symphony? Why not go to the movie, it's called Satchidananda. The producer is Satchidananda. The director is Divine Mother. You know, the lead actors are the masters of self-realization. And they are putting on such a grand model and example. And we are supporting actors, trying to follow their lead. And we have the opportunity to do that. Sorry, I was imitating Cece. I'd like to close with this reading from Whispers from Eternity. It's, I pour out my love at thy feet of immortality. I plucked blossoms of light from dawn's heart as offerings to thee. I have lighted lamps of wakefulness in the temple of my morning silence. I beheld thy bliss face emerge from the dark shadows of my ignorance, where it had been hidden for long eons by my indifference. And seeing thy smiling joy, I know that my happiness mirrored thy blessed image. My heart's tiny capacity for love mirrored thy infinite love. My little peace of mind mirrored thy awe-inspiring, majestic calmness. I will blame the fates no longer for any suffering that comes my way. Beloved Divine Mother, it was my self-made darkness that hid the glory of our mutual love. Now I see myself reflected in thy bliss, and I know that I too am perfect bliss. For my own mirror is clear now. I behold thy reflection in it. O thou ever-sacred, omnipresent, perfect bliss. I pour libations of my love at thy feet of immortality. I pour out my heart to thee from the overflowing chalice of my soul. I wash with the precious musk of my reverence thy feet of ever-moving progress in everything. Keisha's going to play a song of Masters for us on the cello. take if you'd like to give, to share this life and these blessings of self-realization. In your right hand, let's pray together. Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
bless this offering.
bless this offering.
May it serve as a channel.
May it serve as a channel.
Spread thy love and light.
Spread thy love and light.
To all true thirsty souls.
To all true thirsty souls.
So while we are floating our abundance basket, just a few announcements. A week from tomorrow, it's on the calendar in the back. There's a flyer in the back too. Vanamali Davies, beautiful spiritual teacher from India, a good friend of all of ours at Ananda. She's going to be here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at Love Light, the 26th, 7th, and 8th, or something like that. She's going to talk about the science of Hinduism, Krishna, Shiva. We're giving satsang 7:30 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, a week from tomorrow. So I hope you can join us for that. That'll be really quite something. And then also, if you don't have one already, we are doing a fundraising effort for Swamiji's Moksha Mandir. It's his resting place for his physical body. It's at the Crystal Hermitage up at Ananda Village. I think many of you have been there. And we've got some extras of these in the back so we can pass one to you on the way out. But if you've been touched by Swamiji's life, all we ask is that even if it's $1, you can go online or write a check. Just that the united effort of everyone giving, to bring this beautiful Moksha Mandir to fruition. They've already raised $700,000, and we're just at the actually final leg of the last 100,000. So that's the Moksha Mandir. And anything else?
Choir.
What's that? We have choir. Keisha's our choir director, a beautiful music director, and every Sunday, 2 o'clock at the ashram, we're having choir rehearsal.
And starting next week, we'll be holding it here. So no need to commute any longer than necessary.
Yeah, it'll be easier. But still for today, it'll be at the ashram. And Clarity is giving, she's got some flyers in the back too. She's giving an education for life workshop.
Art classes for kids.
Art classes for children. It's in the South Bay, right? February 1st and February 8th. So, much happening. Now we're going to close with our Festival of Light.
That's physically kids,
Yeah. Sorry.
Let us lift up our hearts in a festival of light. The essence of this ceremony has been passed down from ancient times. O waves that we are in the bosom of the infinite sea, joyfully together let us celebrate our own greater reality. For now, by God's grace, our redemption is at hand. The divine light returning anew